This is a warning. The Grim Reaper of radio, Bob Romanik, with his off-the-record show is about to air. He's probably the nastiest and craziest son of a bitch that you've ever had the misfortune to encounter. The Grim Reaper show will be very controversial and probably quite tasteless. If you are even slightly offended by controversial matter concerning religion, racial matters, politics, or life's problems, you are hereby warned to turn this program off immediately. The Grim Reaper show will be, like his face, very scary and very ugly. At this time, not proudly, but shamefully presents to you Bob Romanik, the craziest son of a bitch on the radio today.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, your guardian of the First Amendment, Radical Radio, and we are, as always, proud to be the Patriot. Good Wednesday morning to you. Weather report. It's a little muggy outside. It's a little wet. It's a little hot. Weather's over. There you go. Don't go to Channel 4 and 5 and 2 and 11 and let them sit there with you for 5 hours talking about 3 raindrops. Well, I thought I was the biggest idiot on the air. You got to get these damn ignorant, stupid son of a bitchin' weather people. I guess that's their big claim to fame. And when there's a little tornado, there's a little something going on, you would think the world's coming to an end. With me today, always a pleasure and an honor to have my good friend, Mayor Carl Lee Officer. He's the co-chairman of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. And I talked with some people in Belleville yesterday, and this coalition is really, really catching fire. And someone said, and it was kind of an insult, and I stopped it. They said, you know, Carl Officer and Roger Cook with the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition, they're really going to be political activists like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton with the Rainbow Coalition. I said, hey, you better back up. Don't insult my two friends. What Carl Officer and Roger Cook have done, they've united the part of the Democratic Party, part of the Republican Party. They brought in independents. They're really not a political organization. They are a patriotic social movement, people, and it is a movement. It's a movement. Listen to their philosophy, and I'll talk with the mayor about it. You got Democrats on one side. You've got Republicans on the other side. You've got independents spattered all around St. Clair County or any county. This could be any county. They fight each other day in and day out. They fight each other. No, the Republicans want this. The Democrats want this. You can see it up in Springfield. Now, what a great concept of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. They're going to have a two-party system. They're going to have a two-party system, but it's going to be uniting the Democrats, uniting the Republicans, uniting the independents. They're all going to have a say in county government without fighting each other. They're not going to fight each other. If the St. Clair County Coalition gets involved in the election and they help put Democrats, Republicans, and independents on a ticket, and the ticket wins, that's the best case scenario you can ever have. It's going to be a two-party system back in St. Clair County after 50, 60 years, but they're not going to be fighting each other. They're all going to be part of the same thing, the patriotic movement to make this county better. It's going to be a Republican going to the courthouse, an elected Republican on the St. Clair County Coalition ticket. There's going to be a Democrat. There may be an independent. They're going to work together because they're all on the same team. I don't know why, and I'll ask Mayor Officer, and I'm sure he doesn't have an answer. I don't know why the Democrats and Republicans got to be like the Hatfields and McCoys. They don't have to be like the Hatfields and McCoys. I don't know why they can't all coexist and spend all their effort in doing something positive, working together, than fighting each other day in and day out, and nothing ever gets done positive when you're fighting. because the fight continues and continues, and you can't get the full benefit of anything when you guys are fighting, the Democrats, the Republicans, the independents. Let's take care of our community service. Then I'll get with my good buddy, Mayor Officer. Father's Day breakfast, sausage and ham and eggs and pancakes and potatoes and biscuits and gravy at the Albers American Legion from 8 o'clock a.m. to 11:30 a.m. this Sunday, Father's Day. And I want to thank Debbie for all that information. You know, everybody out there in Clinton and Washington County, when Mayor Officer and I and Roger Cook, and we all go out that way, what great people. You know, they have political differences in Washington County and Clinton County, but they don't fight each other like they do here in St. Clair County. They give everybody a little taste of the pie. You give everybody a piece of the pie, and everybody's happy. Bingo, Cosmic Bingo. Proceeds benefit the Hope for Heroes. It'll be Saturday, June the 27th at the Quail Club, 8303 Concordia Road in Belleville, Illinois, $25 per person. For more information, you can contact Mr. Scott at 618-235-0643 or Fran Harris Schaefer at 618-632-1803. And Craig, thank you very much for that information. The annual 43rd Van National, sponsored by the Hardcore Vanners. You heard me talk about it yesterday. It's up in Effingham County in Altamont. That's about an hour's drive. But it's going to be like the old, back in the old days with the Woodstock. You're going to take your van. There's going to be music every night. There's going to be food vendors. There's going to be a stock car show, a van show. There's going to be bands every night. And for $65, I think it'll be a great time. That could be part of your summer vacation, save some money. So if you're interested, you can contact Darren Bentley at 217-652-6968 or Donnie Nooney at 913-486-8866. On this date, June the 17th, 1856, in Philadelphia, the Republican Party opened its first national convention. On this date, June the 17th, 1885, the Statue of Liberty arrived at Bedloe's Island in New York Harbor. On this date, June the 17th, 1947, Pan American Airways began the first around-the-world air service from New York. On this date, June the 17th, 1950, the first kidney transplant was performed in Chicago, Illinois. On this date, June the 17th, 1955, Disneyland opened for the first time in Anaheim, California. A great date in American history. June the 17th, 1972, 5 burglars broke into the National Democratic Committee offices in the Watergate office building in Washington, D.C., and were arrested trying to install eavesdropping equipment there, eventually resulting in the first resignation of a U.S. president, President Nixon, on August the 8th, 1974. June the 17th, 1999, the Great Chase, Joe J. Simpson, was charged with 2 counts of murder in the slaying of his ex-wife, Nicole, and her male friend, Ron Goldman. After he failed to surrender as scheduled, the nation watched on television as Simpson led the police convoy with a slow-speed chase over 60 miles in Southern California freeways before he surrendered at his estate. That's what happened on this date, June the 17th, throughout all these years in our world's history. Pick me up on iTunes. Type in Bob Romanik and or the Grim Reaper of Radio. Go to our streaming, insanebroadcasting.com. One word, common spelling. Like us on Facebook at KQQZ 1190 AM or our sister station, the best in the golden oldies, KZQZ 1430 AM. Also, you can hear my repeat performance every day at 4 o'clock p.m. And I tried to get to the cemetery mayor officer, but he said, get your crazy ass out of there. So I'm broadcasting from some graveyard to the graveyard shift every night, Monday through Friday at the stroke of midnight. John, thanks for the, I get a lot of emails, a lot of calls, and I want to thank everybody. This is John, no last name, of course. The dumbass politicians ought to think a little before buying cameras for downtown Belleville. If they keep building up Route 15, If they keep building up Route 15 and run more businesses out of town, all the cameras are going to capture are boarded up stores. They ought to start thinking about what the hell they're going to do with the empty hospital. It's not too late to save the town. Well, I disagree with you, John. This town's gone. But John says, and that's his opinion, it's not too late to save the town. But if the voters are dumb enough to put these stupid bastards back in office, it will be too late. Smarting up people, vote the person, not the party. Listen to what Bob Romanik says. Research it, and you will see that he is right. Well, John, thank you. You're a very intelligent man. Thank you very much. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight. But we have to get the right people in office to overthrow these corrupt bastards that have been in control for the last years and years and years. John, you know, that great thought. You're exactly right. And people, I just hope people listen to me. I say, don't believe me. Listen to me. I'm like a TV guide. You look at a TV guide to find out where you want to go, what you want to watch. You watch it. You either enjoy it or don't. I'm like a political TV guide. I tell you what's going on, where to get the information. Now, if you want to use it, fine. If you don't, fine. But John, you're 100% right. Other than I don't think there's anything, and I know everybody is wishing and hoping people that have $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses in Belleville. But I'll tell you, it happened. And it's not, I want to preface this, and I'm sitting across from a proud black man. It's not a black situation. It's the white guys that want to get out of an area like they did East St. Louis and then say, the hell with it, we don't care. They can move to Belleville. You're white, black, Hispanic, you can move wherever you want. But don't forget where you came from. If the people, everybody that lived in East St. Louis, now they all live in Belleville or most of them in Belleville and St. Clair County. If they would have thought enough, they don't have to like black people, and black people don't have to like white people. We have to respect each other. Nobody's going to tell me who to like. I like blacks and whites. I like people that are decent, but nobody's going to tell me who to like because of a color. But the people that left East St. Louis had every right to leave it, but they shouldn't left it be abandoned. They should have helped that community out. You know, it's like a family member. When you move away from a family member and the family member calls you and says, hey, Bob, I'm running out of money. I can't pay my electric bill. You don't live in that family member's house that you moved away from, but you want to help them out. And that's what should have been done in East St. Louis. Now they want to say, look what the blacks have done. You can't do something with nothing. There wasn't nothing left down in East St. Louis when Al Fields left. There wasn't nothing left in East St. Louis. And I'm not pimping for the blacks. I mean, if I talk bad about a black one day, I'm a racist. Then if I talk good about a black, then I'm not a racist. I don't know what the hell I am. I'm not Mark Sweetcakes, Kern, or God Sprague. I'm not as bad as those rotten bastards. But here, Mayor, I was going to go in another direction, but since we're here, let's stay here. Don't you agree that, you know, the white, black, whoever wanted to move out of East St. Louis, but you don't leave your family members behind and not help them. You leave them behind if you want to move on, but you just don't forget about them. But now everybody in St. Clair County and Belleville who have $500,000 houses that are selling for $200,000, if they would have thought about it when they left, thought about shoring up East St. Louis, helping with the police protection, trying to stay involved, coming down there, we wouldn't have the problem. That's an abandoned town. Yes or no?
Absolutely correct. You know, if you stop and think about East St. Louis 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and you look at the main street, State Street, and you count the businesses, I can just reminisce when I first became mayor in 1979. 9 years before that, in 1970, East St. Louis was nearly 100,000 population. You had major businesses like Overnester, Alcoa. You had the packing houses. But at the end of the day, what really happened in East St. Louis is a microcosm of what has happened throughout the Midwest. You had major businesses, major industries, old industries. They left because, primarily in East St. Louis, the politicians ran them out. And the politicians didn't look like me in 1970. They looked like you. And
oh boy, that was the troubling times.
That's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, Mayor Fields, and you know, God love his soul, you know, but at the end of the day, those guys used the voting mechanism to enhance themselves and to move their machine. much like what is happening right now in St. Clair County. If any of my friends, my neighbors, just sit down and take a sip of coffee or drink of tea and look around and say, I remember when Mr. So-and-so used to live there. But you look at the voting trends, right now, the men and women who run St. Clair County politics have not done one thing to bring one job to East St. Louis or anywhere below the hill, but they've done everything they could to make sure that money comes every 2 years for the election so that they can get an overwhelming vote. There's something very peculiar, Bob, when the elected official that runs the courthouse in every office, their own neighbors don't vote for them.
Right.
Now, there's something telling when your neighbor won't vote for you, but you got to get all your votes below the hill. Yeah. I mean, at some point, what's the definition of insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result? That's the reason Roger and I formed the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. It's not the East St. Louis or the Belleville Freedom Coalition. It's the St. Clair County because I see that happening. You and I rode a couple of months ago in a really nice neighborhood on the other side of Eckerd's. You remember that?
Right.
I venture to say there's probably not 3 black people that live out there.
I agree with you.
And at the end of the day, the neighborhood that we're sitting in right now in West Belleville, in 10 years, this neighborhood's going to look like East St. Louis because the leadership in Belleville right now is abandoning the businessmen and women who have made Belleville, and they're moving further and further east, and they're moving in other areas, not to help the city of Belleville, but to help themselves out. This deal about the Shrine, this guy is so right on part. This deal at the Shrine, you mean to tell me you're going to spend millions of taxpayers' dollars to build another development for the city of Belleville when you got beautiful buildings and good sewers and good streets and stuff now, but you're going to take resources away from men and women who've been paying taxes, businesses who've been providing jobs to move out there? Come on, look at the tax break. Look at all the stuff to do. The last thing we need in St. Clair County is another city abandoned. O'Fallon, Belleville, Caseyville, Lynchburg, you name it, Lebanon. Those are all great cities, but they won't be great cities if their leadership continues to be as it is right now. You just can't put a box store up and let mom and pa go away, or the neighborhoods or the communities. And at the end of the day, I'm speaking from experience here, most politicians don't think about communities. They think about their own pocketbook.
Mayor, you hit it right on the head, and that's what I said with East St. Louis. Now it's coming to Belleville. It's a cancer. It's a social cancer, not a black thing, not a white thing, but a social thing. It's a social cancer because when the cancer doesn't stop in Belleville, and it's not stopping, you talked about how nice Fairview Heights, Lebanon, the cancer's going to reach out there, and people are going to keep moving, black and white. It's not a white flight. It's a flight for safety. It's a flight for a decent way of life. They're gonna have to stop it. James Williams, and I said it before, the first mayor, I believe, in 1972, and I used to hang around, and I knew 1971. Mm-hmm. I kind of hung around, not the plumbing shop with Mayor Fields, but I was in with his gopher, his guy, Fred Pescar, nice guy, and I used to hear him talk. They say, "Hey, this is our last run." They let East St. Louis, they let all the streets go down. They let everything go down. They didn't worry about any of the services, the sewers, the streets, the alleys. James Williams got in 6 months later. Everything started to fall apart. And you know what everybody said? Look it, when the blacks come in town, look what happened. It was 4 years in the making, and that's what happens. That's what's happening here in Belleville. This stupid-ass pussy boy, Mark Eckert, he's running all the businesses to the outer town. He's choking all the inner businesses. He's giving all that TIF money. There's not going to be a town of Belleville, but people in Belleville, when you move, you better move to Ohio, because when you move to Fairview or Shiloh, that cancer, if it's not stopped, and that's the cancer of crime and poverty, both black and white, it's going to spread and spread and spread. So let's stop it before it gets too much out of hand, Mayor, if we can stop it.
Well, let's talk about it after the break, because I'm going to tell you two other things. The same thing that's happening with the culture corruption. They got some very, very, very close first cousins, and they're in Springfield, Illinois, influenced by their big daddy in Chicago.
This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, and proud to be your First Amendment and all-American station, Radical Radio. And we stand tall as the Patriot.
From KQQZ 1190 AM, St. Louis, Missouri, USA, you're listening to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, Radical Radio, and we are, as always, proud to be the Patriot. I'm sitting here with my good friend Carl Officer, Mayor Carl Officer, co-chairman of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition, and we talked off the air about the concept. What's better? Why have the Democrats and Republicans fighting each other? Why spending a lot of money on these elections? Why not have the Democrats, the Republicans, the Independents come into the House, all sit down at the table, and all get a good meal? That's the concept of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. I think Mayor Officer and Roger Cook have got a great thing going. It's a patriotic movement, people. You don't have to like Mayor Officer. You know him or not. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like Roger Cook, but you have to like yourselves. You have to like your families. You want to get your families ahead. You want future generations to live comfortably, to live in a decent life, not the life that these politicians lead, because you're never going to live like these bastards. They tell me, Mayor, that God Sprague lives in a house in the Orchards, $1.5 million, and I haven't verified this yet. I just heard it early this morning. $1.5 million house, and he pays $7,000 a year in taxes. Now, I'm going to get to the bottom of that, but what I'll tell you, Mayor, and everybody knows this, all these politicians, and I want to ask you, and again, I always want to put you on the spot, and you can't think for these guys, all the state reps, and there's some good state reps, don't put them all together. There's good state reps, and then there's bad state reps, bad state senators, good state senators. But these guys want to cut this, and even Rauner, they want to cut this and cut that. Have you ever once heard of Clay Barn or Eddie the Gerbil Jackson? Have you ever heard of them two son of a bitches want to cut their salaries, their benefits, their pensions? And these guys, Mayor, they raise their own pensions. They raise their own salaries before the next election. Me and you, their bosses, everybody listening out there, they never have a say in this. When the hell are people going to wise up? When are they going to say enough's enough? When are these bastards going to take a hit? Why do they need pensions when it's a part-time job? Clay Barn, and I want to get on him before this show's over, $85,000, $90,000 a year for a part-time job, benefits, pensions. Don't people understand that they're getting screwed by the people that they pay to work for them?
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago you talked to a gentleman by the name of Dave Lechterfeld?
Great senator, great guy.
Dave spent 30-plus years teaching, had a retirement, a good retirement, with the Illinois Teachers Retirement System. When he got elected to the legislature, he chose not to take a second pension from the people of Illinois as a state representative, state senator. Because he says, you know what? I made a good living as a teacher. I've got a really good pension as a teacher. He made the contributions to it, but most of that money came from the taxpayers because they paid into his pension plan as a teacher, as an educator. He says, I don't need them to pay again just because I've been privileged to be in the General Assembly where I can get twice as much money.
Right.
He chose to do that. That's a man. That's a gentleman. That's an honorable person. We don't have a lot of people in government today who are honorable, who are decent. They're hungry for the money.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's one of the reasons that Roger and I formed the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. This freedom is more than just about voting. It just has something to do with integrity. It has something to do with honesty. It has something to do with good, clean, solid, cooperative government. And it has something to do with your tax dollar, because at the end of this day, you and I are going to hear about what's going on in Springfield, the negotiation between our governor, our state Senate president, and our House of Representatives leader, Mr. Madigan. They're trying to put us in a situation where they're either going to threaten us with cutting all these services or raising taxes. I don't know anybody, I'm a businessman, I don't know anybody who wants to pay more taxes, particularly the businesses of Illinois. I heard you the other morning where you were talking about how many businesses are leaving, not just Belleville, not just East St. Louis, but the state of Illinois, just getting up out of here,
right.
Okay? How many people who are living in houses now that they know that the value of their home is nowhere near what it was 5 years ago? But we're being taxed at an alarming rate, and then we have the option of looking at the men and women who represent us in Springfield or talking about raising our taxes and cutting services. It's compounding. We in the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition want to talk about good sense, common sense government that is fair for everybody. The farmer, that's what makes this thing so exciting to me. I'm talking to men and women who live in rural Lindsborg and St. Labore and Summerfield and people who live in urban O'Fallon in East St. Louis and Belleville and Centerville and Washington Park. And you know what? There's not one single difference between their desires. They want good schools. They want good roads. They want good police protection. They want good fire protection. But most importantly, they want to be able to talk to an elected official that they don't figure they got to kiss their butt.
Yeah. Hey, Mayor, you're not going to get an argument from me. We were talking about the Freedom Coalition, the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. We're talking about people's rights. And I got to segue into this because it just pisses me off. Our good friend Elliot Davis from Fox 2 News over in St. Louis did a political, and I say a political hit piece, and it was a hit piece because it was really bad. And I know when I mention his name, you're going to say he's a friend of yours because you're a decent guy, and I'm sure he is a friend of yours. But the Senator Foghorn, I say Buckwheat Claiborne, I got to get to him. He made over $800,000 last year from the city of East St. Louis, and I think you're going to hear or read some scathing news articles here in the very near future. And you know, when I tell you something, it's usually right. No, I apologize. It's always right. He made over $800,000 last year as the attorney for East St. Louis. Now, I think they were budgeted $400 or $500, and that's secondary. But now he's went out and spent his campaign money. Marin, you were the mayor 4 times. You got some campaign money. I don't know how much or what you did with it, but apparently you did right because you didn't get in the paper over it or the news. But Claiborne has taken his campaign money to make trips to China, to Egypt, to Puerto Rico, to Britain, to Japan, to Africa, 2 times to South Africa, to Turkey, to Vietnam, 2 times to Jordan, and for 62 times he upgraded to first class. And then he argues with Elliot Davis, well, that's not public money, that's campaign donations. But I see here on campaign donations, Jesse Jackson Jr. pleads guilty for taking his campaign money and spending it on living expenses and stuffed animals and elk heads and fur capes and all that. What's the difference between spending it for that and spending it on trips, taking vacations all around the world that some of his constituents will never don't have enough bus fare to get out of East St. Louis.
Did you say elk heads?
Elk heads is what I said. Now that was Jesse Jackson, not Claiborne. I think Claiborne likes heads, but not elk heads.
Well, with all fairness to Senator Claiborne, he has spent monies too. I'm sure Elliott did not report on this side of the coin. He spent a lot of money sending young children, young people.
Whoa, Mayor. But whose money?
I'm going to get there.
Okay.
He spent a lot of his campaign money.
Okay.
Taking a lot of young men and women to historically black colleges to see about them going to school and going to college. Now, I can't comment on Jordan and Africa and Vietnam and all these other places. I'm sure you and Elliot are right about that. I'm just trying to balance it out just a little bit and simply say what I know personally, that he spent money to take young men and women and their parents to expose them to colleges, particularly throughout the South and historically black colleges, because I think he went to one as an undergraduate. I think he went to school in Florida initially.
But Mayor.
But at the same time, you're absolutely correct when it comes to taking campaign money. These are funds that are given to you to help enhance your election. And I think there probably is a gray line, Bob, on taking your campaign money and spending it on for some personal use.
Yeah. I agree with you, Mayor, but I don't agree with you. When you tell me that you know that Senator Claiborne is taking his personal money and taking kids on trips, can you tell me that?
I didn't say his personal money.
Okay, well then I prove that point. But to me, 62 times he upgraded to first class. He went to all these countries, traveled around the world. He's used the limousine, rides in the limousine several thousand times, and then he tells Elliot Davis, well, it's easier to get there. You rotten bastard, Claiborne, you piece of crap. There's people in East St. Louis that have never owned a car, have never been to Springfield, have never been to Jordan, never been all these places. Now, people, all you got to do is drive by his house. It's 109 Hickory Lane in Belleville. It's right off Route 15. And look at that $400,000 or $500,000 house he has. He makes $800,000 from East St. Louis. He makes $100,000 plus on his part-time job. And this no good son of a bitch. And here's what I argue, and I've got the the State of Illinois Election Board researching it. He's saying that that's not public money. That's campaign donations, and he can use for trips to do his job. Then I ask if he's going by that premise that he can use that money for trips to shore up his position as state senator. I say then there should be a freedom of information. We should be able to find out what was on his agenda, what he accomplished, who he went with, and I know the ignorant son of a bitch didn't go by himself. I'm betting everything I got on that, but he wants to hide and say it's not public money. It's your voters' money, you no good son of a bitch and greedy bastard. It's the people that only make $10,000, $20,000 a year that give you $100, that give you $20, that give you $30. And you're going to insult everybody in your senatorial district, the 57th senatorial district, and you're going to take personal trips to Jordan, to Vietnam, to Paris, France. You no good son of a bitch. What do you got to say about that, Mayor? Because I know you got something.
The only thing I got two comments. You saw the state election board that somebody actually made a $30 contribution.
Yeah. There was some $20, $30 contributions.
You got to be kidding me.
No. And you know what? Okay. That's somebody that really believes in Senator Claiborne until they see all this crap.
I'm proud that somebody would think enough, because when the guy makes a $30 contribution, you got to pretty much figure he or she does not make a lot of money. No. So they got to believe in the process to make a $30 contribution. And then the other thing that I guess I would simply say, because like I say, he is my friend. I've got a lot of friends of mine that do some questionable things, and I'm sure some of my friends would say that I do some questionable things, but when you're in the public light, you're in a public position, you have to be very careful on how you spend the money that is entrusted to you, either public money, which is our tax dollars, or campaign money. The laws are pretty clear, and if what you and Elliot allege are true, I think that there's going to probably have to be some kind of accounting for that.
Yeah, well, there ought to be. When Jesse Jackson goes to prison and nothing happens to Claiborne. Now, if Jesse Jackson goes to prison,
maybe because the senator didn't buy an elk head.
Yeah. I think he bought some heads, but it wasn't.
Elk head might be the voodoo. Might be the voodoo curse for going to jail. But
I'm serious. I've got all the articles. Jesse Jackson Jr. gets 46 to 57 months in prison. Claiborne spending his campaign contributions on not elk heads, but on trips to Jordan and Paris and Vietnam. What the hell does that have to do with your constituents in the 57th State Senatorial District of Illinois, Senator? And then I see here $42,000 in chauffeured limousines. You know, you ain't the president, you idiot, you stupid son of a bitch. You're a state senator, and a low-life, good-for-nothing state senator at that. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio at its finest. And we are, as always, proud to be the Patriot.
From KQQZ 1190 AM, St. Louis, Missouri, USA, you're listening to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio. And we are proud to be the Patriot. We're sitting here with our good friend, Carl E. Officer, Mayor Carl E. Officer, the co-chairman of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. And a week or so ago, and I've had Jerry Nichols on a few times, he's the Cahokia Village trustee who was wired up by the authorities. And Fox played this. This is Jerry Nichols being wired up by the police authorities to go to Mark Sweetcake's Kern's office, to go to Curtis McCall Sr.'s office to see what's going on. And in my mind, if the police authorities are wiring you up to go to somebody's office, something's not right. But let's go ahead. Let's play that clip.
Well, I was contacted to be on their side. And
now, their side, who are we talking about?
We're talking Mike Crockett Jr. and Curtis McCall Sr., Curtis McCall Jr. I did have some meetings with them on what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to lay down on the election in my precinct, and they offered me the county board seat. Well, my precinct's pretty strong over there, and to get that precinct, they had to offer me something. But they did offer me, if I helped them win the precinct, that I would get Curtis McCall Jr.'s job. And that was all three of them, Junior, Senior, and Mike Crockett Jr. offered me the job. And more than 2 or 3 times, more than that, telling me I could have the job. And it goes higher than that. It goes a lot higher. After quite a few meetings and talk and so forth, and it actually went to Belleville. I actually had a meeting with Mark Kern and
wait a minute. Wait. You had a personal meeting concerning this activity with County Board Chairman Mark Kern?
Yes, I did, Bob. I had met with him and Mike Crockett Jr. in his office, and we talked, and Mark Kern did say the job was mine, and I could take it to the bank. All I had to do was,
lay down?
Well, he didn't say that. He actually just said the job was mine, and he agreed to everything they said.
You heard this out of Mark Kern, the county board chairman's mouth.
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, and you didn't get the whole crux of it, but Jerry Nichols earlier in the conversation on the air swore that he was wired by the authorities, the police authorities, to go to Mark Sweetcake's Kern's office, to Curtis McCall Sr.'s office, And there's got to be something going on, but we haven't heard of anything. But Jerry Nichols said that the investigation was by the police authorities, and Mayor, through the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition, and again, this is not political, this is just being a political activist, being a member of the community who wants to know what's going on, a member of the community who wants to let everybody else know what's going on. You, in your official capacity as the co-chair of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition, you did contact the authorities in Springfield, didn't you?
Yeah, Roger Cook and I both were approached by Jerry, and we were approached by a couple of other citizens who heard that same broadcast. And I happened to be here one day, and I listened to Jerry. He was sitting next to me, and I almost fell out of the chair. I couldn't believe what I was hearing Jerry say. And so, as a public service, Roger and I said, well, we'll at least do this. We're not going to choose sides on this issue. Well, we're going to simply ask the special prosecutor who was appointed in Springfield. We're going to ask them to at least look into the allegations. That's all Roger and I did. And I got a phone call from the state's attorney to let me know that he was not the legal authority on this. He was not the officer.
He had a conflict in essence. And
that is correct. Right. That is correct. So the St. Clair County State's Attorney made it very clear that there was a special prosecutor out of Springfield who would be looking into these allegations that Jerry made. And, on the surface, it sounds preposterous, and then it sounds dangerous, and it sounds sad at the same point in time that these elected officials, these men who I know would have this kind of conversation, it just sounds just outrageous. And I'm anxious to see in one way or the other what the special investigator and prosecutor are going to find out. There may be something that Jerry may or may not have misinterpreted. I don't know. I'm not the lawyer. I wasn't there. But, I've not known Jerry to lie. And I've never known him to lie to me. Now, it's dangerous at best. But I think we all have to kind of sit and wait and see. I know that you're a little anxious.
No, I'm a lot anxious now, but you can tell me that there is an investigation going on in reference to Jerry's comments and Jerry's statements on the radio here.
Both the St. Clair County State's Attorney and the people in Springfield have confirmed. The special prosecutor have confirmed that there is an active investigation.
Okay. All right. Well, I would ask you, Special Prosecutor in Springfield. I think the director is Patrick Delfino, an honorable man. I would ask him and Brendan Kelly, what the hell's going on? It's been 3 or 4 or 5 weeks now. My case goes 3.5 years. You guys didn't forget about my case, a Class B misdemeanor that I won in 3 minutes, cost the people $150,000. Now, that's egregious to these rotten bastards. I want to know where Mark Sweetcake's current investigation's going. I don't give a damn who's involved. If they're involved in wrongdoing, if it's me, Mayor, if it's you, we'd be under the jail now. I'm tired, and people of St. Clair County and all throughout the listening audience, I'm tired of these rotten bastards having it both ways. They can do what they want when they want, and then when they want to pull a chain of mine or mayor officers or any decent citizen in St. Clair County or throughout the listening audience, they can pull that chain. I'm tired. This is not Russia. This is not Germany. This is the great United States of America. And if you people don't get up off your asses, it could happen to you.
Yeah. It is, it's more than interesting, Bob. Let me tell you this much. I'm going to switch gears for 30 seconds and I gotta go back to work. I believe that the people of St. Clair County, Ed Cockrell made it very clear a couple of months ago when he talked about your tax dollar and how your taxes are, how you protest them, how you do those things and stuff. We're right now paying we're in our first term of paying our property taxes.
When does that come up?
It's up right now, but the last day is sometime in early July for you paying the first half of your taxes. Then the other ones comes in, I think, in late September or late August and September. Because I was up there last week making payment on my taxes. I just find it absolutely egregious that here we're sitting here on the 17th of June in Belleville, Illinois, at a small radio station with a powerful voice, and the voters and taxpayers of Illinois, particularly here in southwestern Illinois, St. Clair County, don't know where they're going in terms of their tax dollar, both here in Belleville, in the St. Clair County, and in the state of Illinois. We are being threatened by the same culture of corruption over and over and over again. And I have to make this comment. I heard this thunderous roar from people saying, well, Governor Romanik is doing this. Governor Romanik is just trying to correct some of the problem that one guy for the last 32 years has perpetrated. And you know what I'm talking about, the Speaker of the House in the state of Illinois. You can't blame Jim Thompson, Jim Edgar, any of the governors, Blagojevich. At the end of the day, there's one man that stands tall, straight and tall in this whole situation.
No, it stands crooked and tall.
Yeah, and when you look at where we are, our schools, you always hear me holler about the schools. I don't think we have seen the kind of devastation that's getting ready to happen to Illinois schools. And hopefully tomorrow I might be seeing what my work schedule is like. Come back, maybe I can take about 5 minutes and tell you what I think we need to be doing to save some of our tax dollars.
Mayor Carly, officer, co-chair of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. It's always an honor to have you around. Listen, I got a song that I want to really dedicate again to Mr. and Mrs. Mark Sweet Cakes Kern. People tell me that they love the swing. They love, I guess they say swing. I guess that's get on their swing on their front porch. They love the swing, but I don't see a swing on their front porch at 111 South High. But I want to dedicate this to the Kerns.
Yes, we were swinging. Just a swinging.
Yes, I want to dedicate that to Mr. and Mrs. Mark Sweet Cakes Kern, the county board chairman, and his hairy, stanky-ass wife, swinging. They want to swing. So I might buy them a swing for Christmas, and then they can swing all the hell they want to do. Do we have a phone call? Let's see. Yeah, go ahead and take line 4. We've got a lot of callers. I couldn't get to many of them, but go ahead. Go ahead, caller. You're on the dark side. Whoa! Oh, Mrs. Kern, I know you were listening. You always listen. You hairy, stanky, skanky bitch. You smelly little bitch. I know your husband, Mark Sweet Cakes Kern, is in a whole lot of trouble politically and otherwise, I believe. But I can't come by your place and go swinging with you and that bitch boy husband of yours. I get kind of woozy on a swing, but Mrs. Kern, you just love that swing. What the hell's really going on with that? Whoa, no, Mrs. Kern, you'll have to ask that bitch boy husband, Mark Sweet Cakes Kern, about the theft of your little stinky panties. I'd advise you to check with him, and when he takes his pants off, maybe he's got those little panties on, because that little bitch boy, I don't know how he dresses, but I know how he acts, and he acts like a little bitch. Whoa, maybe he'll dress like a little bitch. Huh? Oh, Mrs. Kern, you're a funny bitch. You know, you and that idiot husband of yours, Mrs. Kern, maybe you've been on that swing, or maybe you've been swinging, whatever that means. Maybe you've been swinging and you got dizzy from swinging. You know, I don't know, but I have to say, what a Sasquatch you are. And that song I dedicated to you and your bitch boy husband, Mark Sweet Cakes Kern. You know, there's an election coming up, Mrs. Kern. And after your husband loses the election, what are you guys going to do? Whoa, Mrs. Kern, I understand that, and when I ask you, what are you going to do when probably Mrs. and Mrs. Kern, whenever Mrs. Kern, the male half, well, I can't say male because he's not got any testicles, not any balls. He's a little bitch boy. What are you going to do? What are you going to do after the election when he loses the election? What are you going to do?
Yes, we were swinging. Just a swinging.
Mrs. Kern, you just love to swing on that swing, whatever the hell that means. I don't know, Mrs. Kern. If you're swinging, I want to see that swing on your porch. It's not on that front porch of that medical clinic. But thanks for the call, Mrs. Kern. You call me anytime, but remember, I can't come by your house. You'll have me arrested. No, can't hang up on her. Hang up on her. She'll have me arrested again. But she looks at me, I believe, like a piece of meat, like a piece of Polish sausage or something. Mrs. Kern, I'm staying away from you. You're dangerous. Hey, I'm staying away from this mic. It's time to go. We'll be back tomorrow. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you've been listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio. And we are, as always, proud to be the Patriot. Come on back tomorrow. We're going to get all over. I'm going to cut Carl's mic off when he tries to defend the Senator Foghorn. I say Buckwheat Claiborne. He takes people on trips with other people's money. What a piece of crap, a low-life bastard you are, Claiborne. And you haven't heard the rest of me or Elliot Davis or the Belleville News Democrat, I don't believe. So watch out. You're on for a rough ride, Senator. I hope one of those limousines that you're riding in has good shocks. And at $42,000 you spend on chauffeured limousines, I'm sure they do. But people, remember, we expose these rotten bastards, the Claibornes, the Spragues, the Kerns, the Eckerts, the Barasivics, day in and day out, people, until you will finally get pissed at what you're hearing. And when you do, you'll know it's time to unite. Unite with the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition, because that's the only course of action. That's your last bastion to get something done, to fight. The St. Clair County Freedom Coalition will fight for you, your family, and the future of all of us. So think about it. Get up off your lazy asses and join us. And together we can expose and drag and destroy these son of a bitches once and for all. Destroy them politically, of course, not going to jail today. Right here on the dark side.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha. To the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time. And I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their clean white coats. And they're coming to take me away, ha-ha.
The Patriot.
Your First Amendment and all-American station.
A division of Insane Broadcasting.
Renegade Radio.
KQQ.